Welcome to my channel. Have you ever felt trapped? Not in a room or in a place, but in your own mind. Trapped between two languages. You try to speak English, to express a thought, an idea, a feeling, but first, it must pass through the filter of your native tongue. It's like trying to see a beautiful sunset through a dirty window. The colors are dull, the shapes are fuzzy, and the magic is lost in translation. You know the words, you've studied the grammar, but the flow, the natural, effortless river of thought that you have in your own language, feels a million miles away. You aren't just learning a language. You are trying to build a new home for your thoughts. In today's video, we are going to embark on a journey. A journey that will take us to a serene monastery nestled high in the mountains, where a young monk faced this exact struggle. Through his story, a forgotten Zen tale of focus, patience, and immersion, we will uncover the profound secret to not just speaking English, but to finally, truly, thinking in English. This isn't about memorizing more vocabulary or learning complex grammar rules. This is about rewiring your mind. So get comfortable, open your mind, and listen closely. Because by the end of this story, you will not only possess a powerful, ancient technique to transform your English fluency, but you will also find a deep well of motivation to walk your own path of learning with renewed purpose and unshakable confidence. In a realm where mist clung to ancient mountains, like a silken robe, stood the monastery of the Silent Peak. It was a place of profound stillness, where the only sounds were the whisper of the wind through bamboo groves, the rhythmic chanting of monks, and the gentle sweeping of stone pathways. Here lived a young monk named Kaito. He was diligent, his mind sharp as a freshly honed blade, and his devotion to the path of enlightenment was absolute. The monastery housed a library of sacred texts, scrolls that contained wisdom gathered over centuries. However, many of the most profound teachings were written in a language that was not his own, a classical, intricate script that few could decipher. The aging abbot, Master Eisen, whose eyes held the calm depth of a mountain lake, had tasked Kaito with a monumental duty, to translate these ancient scrolls into their native tongue, so their wisdom would not be lost to time. Kaito was honored. He felt a surge of purpose. He entered the library, the scent of old parchment and cedarwood filling his senses. He unrolled the first scroll, its characters elegant and mysterious. He took out his brush, his inkstone, and his thick stack of reference books. He was ready. The first day was filled with a determined energy. He would look at a character in the ancient text. Then, he would search for it in his dictionary. He would find the corresponding word in his own language. He would think about the grammar, the context, the nuance. Then, carefully, he would write it down. One word. Then the next. And the next. It was slow, painstaking work. A single sentence could take an hour. The sun would crawl across the sky, casting long shadows of the library's pillars, and Kaito would have translated only a single paragraph. Days turned into weeks. The initial fire of his enthusiasm began to cool, replaced by a smoldering frustration. His mind felt like a battlefield. Every single word from the ancient text had to be captured, wrestled with, and forced through the narrow gate of his own language. He wasn't just translating words. He was constantly translating his own thoughts. His inner voice would scream, "How do I say this?" And a cascade of options, rules, and exceptions from his own tongue would flood his consciousness. He felt clunky, inefficient. The flowing wisdom of the scrolls was being broken into 1,000 tiny, disconnected pieces in his mind. The process was not meditative, it was a mental war. He saw the other monks. He saw the gardener, an old man who moved with a silent grace, tending to the moss and the stones, his mind seemingly at one with his work. He saw the cook, who prepared the simple meals with a focused calm, every chop of the knife a precise, mindful action. Their minds were still. Kaito's mind was a storm of noise. The constant back and forth, the mental gymnastics of translation, left him exhausted and disheartened. The beauty of the original text felt distant, its soul lost in the clumsy mechanics of his process. One evening, unable to bear the weight of his failure any longer, he went to see Master Eisen. He found the old abbot sitting on a veranda overlooking the valley, the setting sun painting the clouds in hues of orange and violet. "Master," Kaito began, his voice tight with frustration, "I am failing. The task you have given me is impossible. I cannot do it." Master Eisen did not turn. He continued to gaze at the horizon. "Oh, and why is that, Kaito?" "My mind," Kaito said, gesturing helplessly at his own head. "It is too full. It is full of my own language. I cannot read a single word of the sacred text without first thinking of it in my own tongue. I am not a bridge for this wisdom. I am a barrier. The flow is broken. The spirit is lost. I need a new technique, a better dictionary, perhaps a different way to study." Master Eisen was silent for a long moment, listening not just to Kaito's words, but to the deep frustration beneath them. Finally, he turned, his gaze calm and penetrating. "Your problem is not the technique, Kaito. The problem is the mind that uses it. You are trying to pour fresh water into a cup that is already full of stale tea. You are not building a new room in your house. You are trying to cram new furniture into a room that is already cluttered." Kaito looked down, confused. "So what must I do, Master?" Master Eisen smiled, a faint, enigmatic smile. "Tomorrow, at sunrise, you will stop your work in the library. You will leave your books, your ink, and your frustrations behind. Your new task is in the North Garden." The North Garden was a small, secluded part of the monastery that had been left untended for some time. It was a chaotic mix of stubborn weeds, overgrown bushes, and moss-covered stones. "You will bring order to that garden," the master instructed. "You will pull the weeds, prune the bushes, and clean the stones. But you will do so under one condition." "Anything, Master," Kaito said, desperate for a change. "While you are within the walls of the North Garden," Master Eisen said, his voice soft but firm, "you are forbidden to use your native language. Not just in speech, but in your mind. You will not name the weeds you pull in your own tongue. You will not think about the ache in your back in your own tongue. You are to build a new world in that small space. A world that exists only in the language of the ancient texts." Kaito was stunned into silence. This was absurd. How could he possibly forbid his own thoughts? How could he name things in a language he was struggling so profoundly to learn? He was being asked to build a house with tools he didn't know how to hold. "But Master," he stammered, "I don't know all the words. How can I name a flower if I do not know its name in the ancient tongue?" "Then you will learn it," Master Eisen said simply. "You may bring one thing with you into the garden. A small vocabulary list. Nouns only. The names of the things you see. Rock, soil, leaf, water, Sunday sky. Nothing more. Now go. The garden awaits." Defeated and bewildered, Kaito bowed and left. His mind reeled. This was not a solution. It was a punishment, a riddle without an answer. The next morning, as the first rays of dawn pierced the mist, Kaito walked to the North Garden. He held a small, freshly written list of about 30 words. He stood at the gate, a simple wooden frame, and took a deep breath. He stepped inside. The silence was immediate and oppressive. His mind, so used to a constant chatter of inner dialogue in his native language, felt empty. It was a terrifying emptiness. He looked at a thick, thorny vine strangling a small maple tree. The name of the vine in his own language jumped into his mind instantly. He recoiled as if stung. No, he remembered the master's words. Forbidden. He forced the familiar word out of his consciousness. It felt like pushing against a powerful spring. He looked at his list. The word for vine was not there. He didn't know it. So he could not name it. He could only see it. He could only observe its thorns, the way it twisted, its dark green leaves. He knelt and reached for a common weed. His mind screamed its name. Forbidden. He looked at his list. Weed was not on it. Plant, however, was. He looked at the weed. He focused all his attention on it. He pulled it from the earth, feeling the roots resist. And he thought, deliberately, slowly, the foreign word for plant. It felt artificial. A label stuck onto a thing. It had no meaning, no connection. He moved to a large stone covered in green moss. He looked at his list. Rock. He placed his hand on its cool, rough surface. Rock, he whispered in the ancient tongue. The word felt clumsy in his mouth. He looked at the moss. The word was not on his list. He could only see its texture, its vibrant color. He looked at the dirt on his hands. He found the word on his list. Soil. He repeated it. Soil. The first few hours were agonizing. His mind constantly tried to revert to its old habits. It was a relentless battle against a lifetime of conditioning. He felt like a child, clumsy and mute. The garden, which he was supposed to bring order to, seemed to be imposing its chaos upon his mind. The silence was deafening. Without the constant narration of his own language, the world felt strangely flat, two-dimensional. He worked through the day. He pulled countless plants. He moved many rocks. He felt the sun on his back and drank water from a flask. Every single action, every single observation, was a conscious, deliberate effort to suppress his native language and use only the new one. He returned to his quarters at dusk, his body aching and his mind more exhausted than it had ever been after a day in the library. He had not achieved a state of calm. He had spent the day in a mental war zone. Days bled into one another. Every morning, Kaito entered the garden, his small list in hand. He slowly, painstakingly, began to learn. He would add a new word to his list each day. Leaf, branch, root, insect, sky, cloud. His world within the garden grew, one word at a time. The work was hard. His back ached. His hands were calloused and raw. He started to notice things he had never noticed before. Because he could not name everything, he was forced to truly see everything. He saw the intricate patterns on a beetle's back, something for which he had no name. He noticed the subtle shift in the color of the sky before rain, a phenomenon he couldn't label. His world was no longer filtered through a pre-existing net of words. He was experiencing reality directly, raw and unfiltered. His internal monologue began to change. At first, it was a forced, deliberate act. He would see a stone and think, "That is a rock dot." But slowly, very slowly, something began to shift. The gap between the object and the new word started to shrink. The word was no longer just a label. He was sticking on top of a concept he already knew. He pruned a bush. He didn't think, "I must now cut this branch." Instead, the image of the shears and the branch combined with the foreign words for cut and branch. The thought became an action, bypassing the need for his old language as a middleman. He was no longer translating. He was associating. He was connecting the raw experience of the world directly to the new sounds and symbols. The garden was becoming his new reality. One afternoon, weeks into his labor, a sudden shower of rain began to fall. Kaito took shelter under the wide leaves of a large tree. He watched the drops of water fall from the sky. They struck the leaves and ran down the branches to the soil. As he watched, a small, brown sparrow landed on a nearby rock to drink from a puddle. It chirped, a quick, sharp sound. Then, in a flash, it darted down and plucked a wriggling worm from the wet earth. In that instant, something extraordinary happened in Kaito's mind. Without any conscious effort, without any translation, a thought appeared, fully formed, in the ancient language. The thought was not a clumsy combination of memorized nouns. It was a complete sentence, a fluid observation. The bird takes the worm from the earth. The thought was so natural, so instantaneous, that it shocked him. It hadn't come from his native language. It had simply arisen. It had grown directly out of the experience itself. It was a thought that had been born in the world of the North Garden, a thought that belonged to the new language. He hadn't translated. He had thought. He sat there, under the tree, as the rain softened to a drizzle, and a profound understanding washed over him. He finally understood Master Aizen's lesson. The master hadn't sent him to the garden to punish him. He had sent him there to build a new world. A world where English, or in his case, the ancient tongue, was the native language. You cannot learn to think in a new language by constantly referring back to the old one. That is like trying to learn to swim while keeping one foot firmly on the bottom of the pool. You must, at some point, let go. You must create a space, an island in your mind, where the new language is the only law, the only tool, the only reality. His struggle in the library was because he was trying to furnish his new house using the floor plan of his old one. It would never fit. In the garden, he had been forced to build a new house from the ground up. He laid the foundation with simple nouns: rock, soil, water. Then he built the frame with simple actions: pull, cut, drink. And now, in that moment with the sparrow, he had seen that the house was finished. It was a small house, but it was complete. It was a place where his thoughts could live, naturally and freely, in the new language. A deep sense of peace settled over him, a stillness that had eluded him for months. The frustration that had gnawed at him was gone, replaced by a quiet, joyful clarity. The next day, Kaito returned to the library. He unrolled the same scroll that had once been his tormentor. But this time, he did not reach for his dictionary. He did not try to translate word by word. Instead, he read a passage, and he did what he had learned to do in the garden. He closed his eyes and tried to live in the world the words described. He tried to see the characters, to hear their voices, to feel the emotions the text was conveying, all within the framework of the new language. And then he picked up his brush. The words flowed, not as a clunky, piece-by-piece translation, but as a natural expression. He was no longer a translator, a mere converter of symbols. He was a storyteller, conveying the spirit of the text because he now understood its world from the inside. He was thinking in the ancient tongue. His mind was no longer a battlefield. It was a calm, clear lake, reflecting the wisdom of the scrolls. He had learned that to truly know a language, you must not just study it. You must live in it. So what does the story of Kaito and the North Garden teach us? What can we take from this ancient wisdom and plant in the soil of our own lives right now? The secret to thinking in English is not about memorizing more, studying harder, or finding the perfect app. It's about immersion. Not the immersion of traveling to another country, which is a privilege not all of us have, but a more profound, more accessible kind of immersion. An immersion of the mind. Kaito's master didn't give him a new book. He gave him a new reality. A small, manageable space where English was the only option. This is the key. You must create your own North Garden. So what do we need to do now to make these changes in our lives? It's simpler than you think. First, choose your garden. It doesn't have to be a physical garden. It can be a time of day or a specific activity. Perhaps it's your kitchen. From now on, whenever you are in the kitchen, you are in your English garden. The rule is absolute. No native language allowed, not even in your head. What is this? This is a knife. What am I doing? I am chopping an onion. What do I feel? I feel hungry. Start with the nouns. The objects you see: plate, fork, glass, water. Don't translate. Associate. Pick up the fork, feel its weight, and think the word fork. Create a direct, unbreakable link between the object and the English word. Your garden could be your 15-minute walk to work. Name everything you see: car, tree, building, street, dog. Again, no translation. If you don't know the word, don't panic and switch to your native language. Just observe the thing. See its color, its shape, its movement. The act of pure observation without labeling is a powerful mental exercise in itself. Look up the word later, and the next time you see it, you will have a name for it. Second, be patient and embrace the silence. Kaito's first few days were agonizing because his mind craved its usual chatter. Your mind will too. You will feel slow, foolish, and frustrated. This is the most critical phase. This is where you are letting go of the old and making space for the new. Embrace that feeling of being a child again. A child doesn't learn a language by translating. They learn by pointing, observing, and associating. You must do the same. Third, expand your world. Once you are comfortable with the nouns in your garden, add verbs. I am walking. The car is moving. I am opening the door. Then add simple feelings and descriptions. The sky is blue. I feel tired. The coffee is hot. You are not memorizing grammar rules. You are living them. You are building, sentence by sentence, a world where English is the natural language of your experience. Kaito's breakthrough came in a single, unguarded moment. Yours will too. One day, you'll be in your kitchen, and you'll drop a spoon, and the thought, "Oh, the spoon fell," will pop into your head in perfect, natural English. Not as a translation, but as a direct, instantaneous thought. In that moment, you will have felt it. The click. The shift. The moment you stopped translating and started thinking. This journey requires discipline, yes. But more than that, it requires a shift in perspective. Stop seeing English as a subject you study, and start seeing it as a world you can inhabit. You have the power to build that world, one thought at a time. So start today. Choose your North Garden. Forbid your native tongue from entering it. Arm yourself with a small list of new words. And begin the quiet, patient, powerful work of building your new home. If this story has inspired you, commit to your own practice. Don't just be a passive listener, be an active participant in your own journey. The path to fluency is not a race. It is the mindful, deliberate act of laying one stone at a time, until you have built a bridge to a new world. Start now.